Welcome to your MSA Prep Show. I am Coach Davis here with my fabulous partner.
Thank you, Coach Frank. And we are so excited to be here helping you get ready for MSA.
And we know that you're ready. This is just an opportunity to help you bring all of those things that are twirling around in your mind, bringing them together to see how you would actually put them into practice, getting yourself ready for the actual MSA test. The items that we have found are coming straight from our MDK12 website. So if you go to www.mdk12.org and click under what the MSA looks like, you can find these exact example problems. So we're going to go over some examples with you, taken from your MDK12 website, which is your Maryland Public Release Task.
Yes, so there are public release tasks for grades 3, 4, 5, and 6. So definitely make sure to go on there and look at some of those questions. We're going to do a few of them. There are about 20 questions, I think, for each of these tests, which isn't as long as the MSA, but they are good practice problems to let you know what MSA is like. And we do know you're ready, and that's why I love MSA so much. I love MSA because it's your chance to shine.
Yes.
It's your chance to say, I have learned everything my teachers taught me. I'm ready. Let me show you how ready I am. That's why I love MSA. Maybe I just love it. So we're going to show you some problems, one from each grade level, and we are going to start with a question from 3rd grade. And let's take a look at a few things on this page. There are a few things that are important on this page. First of all, at the top, if you're looking at all those different public release tasks, it's going to let you know the grade level. And also there's going to be a symbol in this. A similar symbol will be on MSA, and this is a calculator with a circle and a dash right through it saying we cannot use a calculator on this question, but there will be some questions that you can use a calculator, and we'll show you an example of that later. So let's take a look at this 3rd grade question. Mike wants to build a fence around his garden. The shape of Mike's garden is shown on the grid, and here it is. What is the perimeter in units of Mike's garden? So what we did was we just enlarged the question a little bit so you could see it a little bit easier on your screen. So a few important things to look at here. First of all, we want to find the perimeter, and that's very important because often, sometimes we get a little bit confused with perimeter versus area. Remember, perimeter is the distance around a shape, and area is the number of square units inside a shape. So what we want to do is we want to find the distance, the number of units around the shape. So it's very important. Now also remember, you can write in your test booklet. How fabulous is that? So you will have a scratch paper, but don't forget if you're trying to work out a problem and you want to do it right on your test, you can do that. So I'm going to do that right here because I want to actually count the units. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to actually mark each of the units as I'm counting them, and that way I can make sure I've counted them all instead of just trying to keep it in my head. So that's why I love that you can write in your test booklet. It's really fabulous. So here is unit 1, 2, 3, 4. I want to make sure I have them all. 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18. So I counted 18 units, and I want to show you something really important. Here is my 18 units. So the correct answer is choice D. But one thing you want to be very careful of is that often some of the other answer choices can sometimes be a little bit tricky. Remember how I said often sometimes perimeter and area can be a little bit confusing. Let's see what would have happened if we found the area instead of perimeter. Remember, the area is the number of units inside. So if you had found it, it would have been 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, and there it says 15 units. So if you had found the area, that choice would have been there. So you need to be extremely careful when looking at those answer choices, because sometimes there are ones that are there where if you maybe just do something a little bit too quickly and you find your answer there, oh, there it is, I must be right. So just do us a favor and take your time on each question and really look at your answer choices very carefully. So correct answer is 18 units. Don't forget, perimeter is the distance around a shape. Area is the number of square units inside. And off to Coach Davis for a grade 4 question. I love all these questions. They're so much fun.
Yes, and so I have a grade 4 question. And notice here that you are not allowed to use your calculator for this particular question. So let's take a look at what it is that we're trying to do. Molly cut this piece of tape. This demonstrates the piece of tape, and it has a ruler right here inside for you to use. And the question is, how long in inches is the piece of tape Molly cut? So we have an answer choice of 4 inches, 4.5 inches, 4 3/4 inches, and 5 inches. Well, if we look at our tape, we see that it's 4 inches right here, and it goes beyond that. So I can right away eliminate 4 inches. And if I look right here, it doesn't go all the way to 5 inches. So I can eliminate 5 inches. So my question is, how long in inches is this piece of tape? And you notice we have the answer choice 4.5 inches and 4 3/4 inches. So let's look. It's going to be between 4 and 5 inches. So now all I need to do is figure this out. The way that I'm going to do this, I'm going to look at my ruler and I'm going to look to see how many marks is it broken up into. So each mark represents a fraction of an inch. So let's see, I have 1, 2, 3, 4 parts that it's broken up into. So each one of these is going to represent 1/4 of an inch. So this is 1/4. Now this mark right in the middle, anything that's in the middle is 1/2. So this is 1/2 of an inch.
Which is the same as 2/4. So
which
that
is
makes
the same
sense, right?
as 2/4. Yes. And then right here, this is 3/4. And if I look carefully, this actually lines up with this mark right here. And so the correct answer is 4 3/4.
Excellent. Fabulous. Good job, Coach Davis. Off we go to a 5th grade question. I love these questions. They are so much fun and such good practice because often there are times when we've learned something back in September, October, because MSA is going to ask us questions on anything we've learned all year. So it's important to go back and refresh our brains with some of the things we've been learning about all year. So let's take a look at this 5th grade question. We can see at the top of the page that this is a grade 5 question, but no calculators are used. So what we have to use is what we have learned in class, but that's going to be plenty. So let's go ahead and take a look at this question. Tully prepared 2 candy recipes. The first recipe used 3 3/4 cups of sugar. The second recipe used 2 2/3 cups of sugar. How much sugar did Tully use to make both recipes? So let's go ahead and take a look at the enlarged version right here. So we know we have 2 mixed numbers. The question is, what are we going to do with these 2 mixed numbers? So we want to look at the question very carefully. How much sugar did Tully use to make both recipes? So right there, that lets me know that we want to add our mixed number. So let's go ahead and remember that since we can write in our test, let's go ahead and write it out, because it's extremely important to take our time with each question and remember that anytime we are working with fractions or mixed numbers, whether we are comparing them, whether we're ordering them, adding, subtracting them, we have to be able to find a common denominator. And to do that, we need to work it out. Even I need to work it out on a piece of paper. So it's very important to do that. You must find those common denominators if we are adding, subtracting, ordering, comparing mixed numbers. Extremely important. So let's go ahead and look for our common denominators. If we look at our mixed numbers, we have a denominator of 3 and a denominator of 4. So we're going to write this right next to it with some common denominators. So to do that, we want to find our least common multiple of 3 and 4. So let's take a look at our multiples of 3. 3 times 1, 3 times 2, 3 times 3, 3 times 4. We know it's not going to be any more than 3 times 4 as our least common multiple. So let's take a look at 4. 4 times 1, 4 times 2, 4 times 3, and it ends up that 3 times 4 is in fact our least common multiple. So our denominator is going to be 12. And actually, if you look at all the answer choices, they are all in 12, so that's good, but sometimes there might be a trick there where they wouldn't have found that common multiple and they might have added 3 and 4 and they might have a denominator of 7 or done something else. So be very careful with your answer choices. Now let's go ahead and find these equivalent fractions over in our new problem here. Let's think about how do we get from 4 to 12. 4 times 3 equals 12, so whatever we do to our denominator, we want to do to our numerator to make sure that these are equivalent fractions. 4 times 3 equals 12. 3 times 3 equals 9. Let's go up to our top mixed number. 3 times 4 equals 12. So 2 times 4 equals 8. And remember, we can use these 3 times 1, 3 times 2, 3 times 3, 3 times 4. I know that it's 3 times 4 that equals 12, so we can use what we wrote down there to help us as well. So let's go ahead, and now that we have our common denominators, we can add our whole numbers here, and we can then simply add our numerators because our denominators are now the same. We're talking about same size pieces, so then we can add the number of pieces, which is our numerator. 8 plus 9 equals 17, so that's going to stay our numerator, and that's going to become our numerator, and our denominator, remember, stays the same. If you look at our answer very carefully, we see that this right here is actually an improper fraction. So we want to change that into a mixed number and then add that to our 5. So what we're really saying here is this is the same as 5 plus 17 twelfths. So let's change 17 twelfths into a mixed number. 12 goes into 17 just one time. With 5 left over, that's going to be my numerator, and my denominator again stays the same. We want to make sure to now add our whole numbers together. 5 plus 1 equals 6, and then there is our fraction left over. So our final answer is 6 and 5 twelfths. If we come right over here, 6 and 5 twelfths is right there. Now notice, 5 and 5 twelfths is also there to trick us a little bit if we didn't remember to add that extra 1. So be very careful with your answer choices not to be tricked. Do not forget, please, 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 anytime we are ordering, we are comparing, we are adding subtracting fractions or mixed numbers.
Common denominator.
Promise, Coach Davis and Coach Frank, that you will find common denominators first, because it is extremely important that we make sure we are talking about the same size pieces, which is what our denominator is. So there we go. Love adding mixed numbers. Always a good thing to practice. And on we go to our 6th grade question.
And if you'll notice here on our 6th grade question, this is one that we can actually use the calculator on.
Great.
So you have to pay attention to the symbol and see. I think the calculator will be quite helpful for this problem as a matter of fact.
Yes. Looking at that problem, I think we'll definitely be using the calculator.
Okay, so let's read. It says, look at this figure. What is the total area of this figure? And it has 72 square centimeters, 76 square centimeters, 391 square centimeters, and 463 square meters. So let's get started figuring it out. And again, we've blown it up so that we can see it a little bit better here. And so the question talks about total area. So that means I need to combine the area of this part plus this part plus this part plus this part. So I actually have 1, 2, 3, 4 areas that I need to add together to get the total area for this. All right, so let's get started. Now remember, when we talk about area, we're talking about how many squares units are inside of a particular figure. So we have an area formula, and we used that before. Area is equal to length times width. So let's just break this up into the parts and find the area of each part of this composite figure, and then add those areas together, and that will give us our total area. So here for our first rectangle, we see that the length is 4, and the well, it doesn't matter. We can call it width or length. The width is 4, and the length is 8. So let's go ahead and fill in 8, and I'm going to use the raised dot for my multiplication. 8 times 4. So the area is equal to 8 times 4. I have my handy dandy calculator, and I know my multiplication facts. 8 times 4 is 32, I believe. 8 times 4 equals 32.
Yes.
So this is 32 centimeters.
Yeah, and don't
square.
forget, remember that we talked about writing your test booklet, and this would be a really handy place to do that, because you're trying to find the area of each of the different pieces, so you can keep track right there in your test booklet.
Okay, yes. So now we're going to find the area of this big piece right here. Okay, so area, again, equals length times width. So this would be my width, and this could be my length. And it really doesn't matter which one you choose for which. But some people like to be consistent, wide and long for length to help them remember. So this is equal to 23 centimeters. So I'm going to put my 23, use my raised dot to mean multiply, times 17. And thankfully I have my calculator to save us some time. When we're working, 23 times 17 equals 391 centimeters squared.
All right.
Centimeters squared. Okay, so now we have these little teeny tiny legs down here. And again, using our area formula, area is equal to length times width. And I can call this my width, and I can call this my length. And again, it doesn't matter which one I choose for which, as long as I use both of them correctly. So area is equal to 2 times 10. And 2 times 10 is equal to 20. And it's centimeters square or square centimeters. Hey, this one is congruent. So if
Yes,
I notice that, I don't even have to work that one out again. I notice that they have the same dimensions, so I don't have to work it out again. But if you didn't notice, you could use the formula again. And this is my length, and this is my width. And so, again, area equals 10 times 2 for area equals 20 centimeters squared. Now we have all of these different areas. So let's see, I have 300 something already. So I know I can eliminate 72 because this part is bigger than 72. I can eliminate 76. Hey, I have 391 here.
Oh my goodness.
But I have these other parts as well. I can actually eliminate 391 because I have these other pieces. So let's go ahead and add it up to make sure. So I have my 391 centimeters square plus my 32 centimeters squared.
Yep.
Plus my 20 centimeters squared plus another 20 centimeters squared. And it equals 463. So that indeed is my correct solution for this problem. So remember, when you're working with your MSA, if it says you can use a calculator, make sure you use it to your advantage. So that helped me find my areas, and then I was able to combine my areas for each individual part for a total there.
And one thing to notice is that for each of these problems, even Coach Davis and myself needed to work them out.
Yes.
Absolutely, it's important to take the time to work out these problems, even if we think, I think that might be the right answer. It's so important to work it out and take your time to do that. And one more thing we wanted to do with you today is to complete a BCR. And BCRs are something that we know we'll see on MSA. And I honestly love BCRs because BCRs to me are such a special way to shine and really show everything you know about a concept. Whether the BCR might be about elapsed time or perimeter or division or whatever it may be, show everything that's in your brain that you know about perimeter. Get it out. Say, guess what my teacher taught me? She taught me all this stuff about perimeter. She taught me all this stuff about elapsed time. Because whoever is scoring this, they don't know you. They don't know what's in your brain. So it's important to get everything out of your brain onto your BCR and show everything you know. And something that will help us do that is knowing that anything within the box will help our score a little bit. For example, I'm going to actually show you a 5th grade BCR, even though I'm going to do a 3rd grade one with you. This 5th grade BCR, by the way, is a calculated BCR that we worked on another MSA prep show. But it's important because remember that anything inside this box helps us. So anything can be scored to help us on this BCR. So if you look at this BCR in step B, although there are 5 lines for writing, there's all this space down here that you can also use to help prove your answer. Whether you want to continue writing more or use a picture or symbols, anything inside that box will help you to prove your answer. Use that space very carefully. Okay? So today, we're going to look at a 3rd grade BCR. And this 3rd grade BCR actually, it does not allow a calculator.
Right, it does not.
Okay, so that's important, but that 5th grade one did. So let's take a look at this one. It says Brittany has 15 heart stickers. She put them in 3 equal groups. Make a drawing to show how many heart stickers are in each group. And then step B, remember there's always a step A and a step B, and you want to be very careful to answer each one. Step B, Brittany wants to put her stickers in 5 equal groups instead of 3 equal groups. Explain how this would change your drawing. Use what you know about division in your explanation. Use words, numbers, and or symbols in your explanation. So it's very important to read step B carefully.
Yes.
Sometimes you might just explain what you did in step A, but sometimes they're going to throw you one of those trick sentences that would say, well, what happened if this might change? Or what would happen if this might happen? And that really changes what you're going to put in step B. So you need to be very careful to look for those conditional BCRs instead of just going straight into proving step A. Be careful. Sometimes you will be proving step A, but sometimes you're going to be answering a separate question in step B, so be very careful. So let's take a look. I actually went ahead and I actually answered this BCR so that we could save some time and I could show you a little bit. So here is my drawing for step A. I went ahead and I looked very carefully, and it said she put them into 3 equal groups. So I wanted to go ahead and I drew my 3 equal groups, and notice that I also labeled my 3 groups. Anytime that you are using a drawing, it's very important to make sure to label that drawing so that whoever is scoring them knows exactly what that drawing is of. So labels are very important on BCRs. Let's take a look at step B. She wants to put her stickers now into 5 equal groups instead of 3. Explain how this would change your drawing. So it's very important that we answer that question. How did this change our drawing? And then this part is also important. Use what you know about division in your explanation. Often they're going to give you a clue on what they're looking for in a BCR. If it says explain what you know about elapsed time, explain what you know about division, explain what you know about adding fractions, they're giving you a clue that they're looking to see what you know about that topic. So we want to make sure to include what we know about division. Use words, numbers, and or symbols in our explanation, and all of those can help us prove our answer.
Yes.
So it's important to do our best to include them all. So I started off right from the start, making sure I took care of showing what I knew about division. So I said right away, division means sharing equally, and that's what we were doing here. But I also want to make sure to do this next part. Explain how the 5 equal groups instead of the 3 equal groups would change my drawing. So I'm going to go ahead right away after I show what I know about division and make sure I answer how my drawing would change.
And she has her drawing right here at the bottom.
I did. So what you can do if you want to is sometimes solve things at the bottom and then go back and explain them right above them. So absolutely. So my drawing's down here. So if Brittany puts her stickers into 5 equal groups, there would be 3 in each group. I wanted to say specifically, if it changed, this is how it would change. There would now be 3 in each group instead of the 5 in each group. And then I wanted to show that as a number sentence. 15 stickers divided by 3 groups equals 5 per group. And I wanted to say a little bit more about how I knew that. Thinking of my fact families, I know that before what I was doing was 15 divided by 3 equals 5. So I used my fact families to find 15 divided by 5. So I put that into my BCR because that's how I solved it. Thinking of my fact family tells me that 15 stickers divided by 5 groups equals 3 per group. I went ahead and also wanted to make sure to include a drawing, and I also labeled my groups. And that way I wanted to explain how I solved it. I showed what I knew about division. I explained how it would change. I used drawings, I used labels, I used everything I could to help prove my answer, and that's what's so important about BCR.
Since it said change your drawing, she actually changed her drawing.
I did change my drawing, so I really wanted to make sure to address every part of step B, and that's very important to do on a BCR.
Yes.
Absolutely.
And we have enjoyed our time here with you today. Hopefully we've helped you prepare for your MSA in practicing and reviewing. And remember, you can find these examples and other examples at the website, www.mdk12.org. It has been my pleasure, Coach Davis, to help you here review for your MSA along with my fabulous partner.
Thank you, Coach Frank. And we know that you will make your teachers, your school, us, everybody around you, your family, so proud on MSA. Don't forget to take your time. We know you're ready. It's your chance to shine. So we look forward to you
being better than basic.
Yes.
You are proficient and advanced.
Absolutely. Have a great day. Good luck on MSA.